Today on Steven's Cranky Kitchen, we're going to make salsas. We're going to start off with a dry roasted red tomato salsa, a cooked green salsa, and classic pico de gallo. I'm going to do a dry roasted salsa with fresh tomatoes and dried chilies, onion, and locally grown garlic. So we're going to start off the dry roasted tomato salsa in a medium hot, heavy bottom pan, like so. These are some chilies I bought at a farm stand last fall and dehydrated in a warm, dry kitchen all winter, and we're going to use them now. So I'm starting these all now, but everything will cook in its own time. We're not looking to cook the onion. Taking the peeled onion, this is going to drive out some of that raw flavor, but it'll still have a little crunch to it. Same with the garlic, and leaving the skins on, we're going to get a nice roast on it without caramelizing it and making it sweet. The dried peppers are going to soften and get crispy, and they'll break down really well when we put them in the salsa later. And the tomatoes, we're looking to dehydrate those and develop a little sweet tomato flavor. For my next trick, I'm going to make a cooked green salsa, and that's going to be some green tomatoes from my garden. Typically you'd use a tomatillo. I find, especially in a cooked green salsa, there's not going to be any major differences in flavor that you're going to notice between a tomatillo and a green tomato. First, I'm going to get a pot of water boiling here on the stove, and we're going to add a generous amount of salt. Really too much that you wouldn't really enjoy it to drink this water or to have a soup made in this water. It's going to flavor the tomato and the garlic and onion while it boils, and then be removed from the water, and the water will be discarded. So while our water comes to a boil over here, we can give our roasted tomato salsa a check. You're going to see the chilies start to change color a little bit. They'll lighten up at first, and then you don't want them darkened too much because that might mean that they're burning. So looks like we haven't gotten any color on anything yet, but it's good to keep them moving. What we're looking for, these pretty much just look like tomatoes at this point. What we're looking for is a little change in color, a little blackening on the tomatoes would be good, and we want to see it start to shrivel, reduce out some of the water, really just concentrate the flavor. We got a nice rolling boil on our salted water. We're going to start putting in all the ingredients for the green salsa. And we're just going to let that come back to the boil. And we're looking for very soft vegetables at the end. Finally getting some color on our roasted tomatoes. pulled the chilies out already. They're nice and crisp. The garlic is just about there. The onion smells not like raw cut onion anymore. So I think that's where we want it to be. So we'll let all that cook. So, got a little pot of boiling water here. I'm going to take the dry chilies that I've toasted and we're going to rehydrate them in boiling water. And those are going to come back and be almost as thick as a fresh pepper by the time we're done. They'll just sit there for a bit and come together. So I think we've got our tomatoes, onions, and garlic all to the right stage. Everything's soft. We've taken it out of raw, but nothing has developed any real caramelization. The onion and garlic hasn't caramelized, but the tomatoes are nice and reduced and have some nice roasted sides. While we let the two cooked salsas complete the cooking process and the hot peppers steep, we can make our final salsa. This is going to be a pico de gallo or fresh salsa, salsa fresca. This is always what I think of as salsa. You want to get a tortilla chip in there and a margarita on the side, lots of salt. You know, you get the nice bracing lime, raw garlic, chopped tomatoes, and some red onion, and a lot of cilantro flavor. Okay, so I've got my red onion. Gonna make some small dice out of it. And of course I can't seem to do it. The many challenges of living. As you can see from my strange cutting technique, about 15 months ago I had a hemorrhagic stroke, which left the right side of my body paralyzed for a few months, and I'm slowly getting my coordination back, building strength in my right side. I'm not ready to go back to working as a cook yet, but I am cooking for friends, and I decided to try making a YouTube video and putting out some of my favorite recipes. So the way I like to do pico de gallo is hand cut everything in small dice. That's a challenge, but I might get some help from my friend here behind the camera. And so the next we'll go on to the ripe tomatoes. What I was saying to Nicole a little while ago was I took a half an onion. You want about, in my opinion, about half as much onion as tomato. That's going to give it a good flavor. It's not going to be too much onion, and once it comes together, it won't just taste like wet diced tomatoes. It'll have a good flavor. I put in about 3/4 of a tablespoon of the minced garlic, and now we'll see how that balances out in a little while. So now we're going to take our cooked up tomatoes, peppers, onion and garlic, green, and we're going to puree those up. I've left a little bit of cooking water in there. That's going to, your tomatoes have developed a lot of pectin as they cooked, so it's going to make for a very thick salsa. A little bit of the salt water is going to add flavor, and it's going to thin it down a little bit. Also, I've taken the stems of some cilantro, and that's going to give it a nice little herbal burst. And Then we'll run it through the food processor. As far as the green salsa goes, you could dip a chip in it or spoon it over a taco. We're looking for a fairly pureed sauce. It doesn't require any chunks, so you can just blast it. So we've got a nice puree of the green salsa. I'm going to taste a little bit, and then we're going to correct the seasonings. It's good. I think a little more salt and a tiny bit of vinegar for acid. Good to start off with just a very little bit of vinegar. A little bit goes a long way, and you can always add more later. I added about roughly a half tablespoon of vinegar, white vinegar in there, and I increased the salt by about a teaspoon. Yeah. The vinegar brightens the flavor. I'm not tasting sour. I'm not smelling vinegar, but it's added a roundness to the whole flavor. So now we're going to assemble our roasted red salsa. Put all the goodies in the bowl. See, our dry peppers are almost they're almost looking like just roasted peppers now. So I'm going to take the stems off and put them in there with their friends. I told you before to leave the peels on the garlic. At this point you're going to want to take them off, because otherwise you might get some hard paper in the salsa. Alright. Also we're gonna blend this up. If we need to add a little more water to it, we've got this nice chili infused water here, and that'll add a little more flavor as we add some liquid. A little bit of salt, and then we're gonna blend it up. We got this pureed up. It's a nice cooked sauce, a flavor that I think would pair really well with grilled meat. So I'm going to add about a half teaspoon of cumin to it. That'll go nicely with that, and some salt. Back to the pico de gallo fresh salsa. In this bowl I've got 4 whole large garden tomatoes, got a half of a nice red onion, about a tablespoon and a half of chopped garlic. I put 3 juiced limes in here, and now I'm going to add 1 very large. You could add a couple jalapenos. Seed those out if you like it mild, or leave the seeds in like we did here. And that's probably going to blast our head off later. And then I got a half a bunch, probably a half a cup of minced cilantro. And I think I've got about a tablespoon of salt in there as well. So then we're going to mix it up. I'm just going to rinse my hands and we'll give it a taste. Okay, So I got it all mixed up. I'm going to give it a little taste. Make sure you get plenty of juice in there so you know how it's mixed. Got a good balance with the 4 parts tomato to 1 part onion. I'm going to want to increase the garlic. I think I got about 1.5 tablespoons left. I'm going to go ahead and put all that in. We're all friends here, so we're all going to have garlic breath together tonight. And I'm going to add probably another half tablespoon, probably less than that, more like a teaspoon more of salt. And then just combine all that again. Hi, thanks for joining us here on Stephen's Cranky Kitchen. Please let your salsas work for a couple of hours to overnight. So, got the goodies in here. And as far as this goes, we're looking for a fairly smooth salsa, something that you can spoon over a taco. You could dip a chip in this, or spread it over something that I'm not prepared to talk about. So just okay, so I got it all mixed up. Now get yourself some of the juicy bits down below.